I guess just for people who might be listening later or whatever, I'll just say, well, we know now my name is Miche. I teach people how to bend spoons as a way to teach them about transformation and about just what you were saying, that how powerful and what an influence we can have on our own lives and the world around us. So that's sort of my into doing life coaching and energy stuff and other crazy woo-woo shit. So the first thing I wanted to just let you know, Leslie was asking before about what kind of spoon, and I always have a collection of spoons around me, bent, unbent. Here's one that I did a while ago.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
That's like the, I don't know, advanced level yet, but it's I don't expect that you're going to do this today, but if you want, by all means, I don't want to hold you back. But the difference being that this spoon, when I test it, it feels pretty soft, and so I can just do that, right? Just like really. And so if you happen to have, no, don't look all shocked because it's soft. That's what I'm trying to tell you, that this spoon is really soft, and it didn't even take all of my physical effort to do that. So if you're ever in a spoon bending situation and you don't have a spoon that's like stronger than you are, one thing you can do is you do the easy bend, and then you get to the point where it does, even this, I'm strong enough to do that. But if I just keep going, I'm going to get to a point where it's beyond my strength, and now it's like a mind over matter thing. So keep taking it further, which is the same thing that we can do with any of the changes that we're making in ourselves and in the world around us, right? You go as far as you can go, and rather than convince yourself that's as far as you can go, it's like, well, that's as far as I've gone, and to not put a cap on it.
Yeah.
And, okay, so here's a spoon that looks a lot like that other one, but when I try to bend it, I can't. I can flex it a little bit, right? But my strength is not going to allow me to do what I just did to that other spoon. No way. And the point of that is that when we bend our spoons, you're still going to doubt yourself. I don't care like how thick the spoon is or how thin it is. When you bend it, you're going to be like, I didn't just do that. But to have a spoon that in this moment is not going to bend for you just using your muscles, and then maybe 10 minutes from now, maybe 2 weeks from now, you may bend the spoon, you will know that it was not just your muscles, right? It wasn't just like wishful thinking even. So I really like this because spoons are pretty well available, and they're cheap, and they're handy, and not everybody can bend one, right away or even later or ever. But the teaching around it, I think, is something that everybody can really pick up on and use in their life, right? You don't have to bend a spoon in order to have dominion over your life. Like, that's just one, just because you can't bend a spoon doesn't mean you can't change your life, right? This is just, if it works, it's a pretty convenient, tangible way to see what's possible. All right. And so, like we were talking about, the election and our feelings and the world around us, we really do create the reality that we're in to a large degree. Not necessarily intentionally or consciously, but we have a lot of effect within ourselves, like in our own sphere, and then also how that expands out. And there's been a lot of people proving that in different ways, like this guy, Massaro Emoto, who discovered that if you speak to water, you can change its nature. Like, he had people just like sending love to one of the dirtiest lakes or rivers. I think it was in Japan. And they tested the water before and they tested the water after, and it was maybe a day's worth of, just sending love to this water, and it cleared the water up. So the other reason that I teach this is because it's very accessible. It's very like right here, easy. And when you bend it, it's like obvious that it happened, so that you can then sort of take the leap or bridge from there and say, if I can do this, all those other things that people are saying, like, they may prove it by research, but I can now believe it because I did this. That it's not much of a leap to say, like, if I can change the state of this spoon by changing the state of my mind, we can change the state of all sorts of things. It doesn't mean you have to even go out, like on the political thing. I believe as leaders and light workers now, the vibration that we hold, that we emanate just in our own personal lives, is collectively adds in our world, in our universe. And so I had actually just posted a video the other day about a time when I had a webinar and nobody showed up, and I was like, what do you do when what you expected to happen didn't happen? And the first thing is to just be present with that, and to find a way to be okay with it and then move from there. And so, like, the same thing with any state of our environment or our world that we're not happy with, trying to push against it is not going to make it better. It's only going to keep us riled up and probably keep other people riled up. And when all these people are riled up around us, one of the best things we can do is just be like a beacon of, I'm not riled up, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And what you were saying, Connie, that we do have more influence and more power than we think. But it doesn't look like what other people are saying power and influence is, right? It doesn't look like having to run the election or whatever. It's like, it's really right here. All right, so that's a lot of preamble. So the idea basically is we're all energy. We're all made up of energy. Quantum physics has proven, I don't really understand it, but they tell me that not only are we most energy, we're hardly any stuff, right? That in like an atom or a molecule, there's infinitesimal small amount of actual stuff. Some quantum physicists don't even think there's stuff in stuff. Right, and yet we look pretty solid, and some things like spoons seem really immutable. We know them. This is metal. It's hard. You can bend it. You need equipment. You need tools. Whatever. And a lot of those things show up is because that's how we've been taught. That's how we believe them to show up, and therefore that's how they show up for us. Which is the kind of like law of attraction thing, right? Is Actually, Colleen, I wanted to say that I think when you decide that it's not hard for you to be clear for yourself, it will be easier to be clear for yourself, right? It's like Richard Bach in one of his books wrote, argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours. And the more we say, yeah, this is hard, or this is terrible, or this sucks, it does. If only because that's how we see it, but then beyond seeing it, we are making it that way. So if you're willing to see your spoon as something that doesn't have to be the way a spoon has always shown up, if you're willing to have the experience that change can be easy and that things aren't always what they seem, and to allow that and to not go into it with judgment or try to drop, preconceived notions either about the spoon or about you and your ability to bend the spoon, or are you a good person, or are you connected or unconnected? Like, just let all of that go. The whole thing is to get out of your head, really, and just be in your heart and be in the moment and be present and have an intention and put your attention on what your intention is. And while you're simultaneously wanting something to happen, you're also kind of letting go of the outcome, right? Because if you hold too tight to it, then you're stressing and you're kind of tensing all your energy up. So one way that I teach people is, to just hold a spoon and just be present, and feel it. Just feel, what does that feel like in your hand? And even kind of wiggle it or wobble it around. And imagine, what if it wasn't your hand wobbling it? What if this thing was actually wobbly? If it was like you were holding a leaf or something, and as you did this, the leaf was doing that, right? Rather than my hand is doing that to the spoon. And you just step into, it's not an affirmation. You're not going to like repeat it 10 times until you do it. I mean, you might, but I don't especially believe in affirmations because I think our minds are a little smarter than that. It's like, yeah, you may say so, but I know that's not what's true, right? So instead, I invite myself and you to wonder about it and to be curious about it and think, how else could it show up? And not say, I know this is going to happen, but I wonder what it would be like if it did. I wonder what it would feel like to actually bend this spoon, and then really allow that to play in your mind, in your body, in your hand. Often I'll rub the spoon, and definitely beginning spoon bending, I'm going for the narrowest part, right? Just kind of behind the bowl of the spoon. I'm not trying to bend the bowl, and I'm not trying to bend the fattest end, right? I'm going for the area of least resistance, because I'm also going for the area of least resistance. So I rub it, not because rubbing it is going to make it bend, but because it helps me sort of be in connection and kind of get into a little bit of a zone with the spoon. And we all have different ways that, we perceive things or we relate to stuff. First time I bent a spoon, I've been a jeweler for 40 years, so in my mind, in my imagination, I pretended that I took a torch that wasn't going to burn my hands, and I heated the spoon until it was red hot in my mind, and then could bend it, because I know that when metal is red hot like that, it will bend. So that kind of helped me, into that possibility, into the fantasy of it even, right? Some people will, you can imagine like white light coming down through the crown of your head, coming into your body, coming out your hands. You're feeling the energy. You're feeling the light. You're feeling that this is also energy. There's no difference in that sense. We're all energy, and this actually is partly a product of our energy. And so we can choose for this to show up differently, and we can choose for us to show up differently. So when I'm doing these webinars too, I talk a lot. And part of why I talk a lot is because I want to keep your brains busy, thinking or joking around or whatever, while your hands and your awareness is on the spoon. And you can be trying to bend the spoon anytime in here, and you can give it, like a little push, and you'll see, no, it's the same damn hard spoon right now. And then you'll go to do it again, or maybe even right before you do it again, you'll feel something different. I don't know what. You could feel something in your head. You could feel like some perking up of awareness. You could feel it in your hand. You could feel maybe the spoon got a little warm now. And there's just some moment where something shifts. And if in that moment, and I'm going to see if I can get in that moment and, be like on the thing, in that moment, I'm allowing it, I'm feeling something, I'm open to the possibility of it, I'm not forcing it, I'm thinking like, wow, that would be so cool if I could just really bend the spoon, and then I can bend the spoon. Now when I do that, if I go in the middle of that, oh my God, I'm bending the spoon, your spoon is not going to bend. Right? You need to, so it's tricky.
So can I ask you a question? So I just bent mine, but I feel like I exerted a lot of pressure.
Right. So, okay, so now without, going all zen or anything, try to unbend it.
Okay. You want me to show you how I'm...
Yeah. Do you feel like you put nearly that much pressure when you bent it down?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the reasons it's good to usually have actually more than one spoon, right? You bend the spoon, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like, it's a half an inch thick, but, I don't think so. So, and it may be, right? I mean, because we have different strengths and the spoons are different strengths. You'll have to play around with it a little more and see, and maybe find a spoon or maybe that spoon and really feel how much energy do you have to exert. Just, you pick up a spoon, you grab it, you try to bend it. Mm-hmm. How hard are you pressing on it and it's still not moving? And then in a circumstance like this where you're sitting down and you're planning to do this and you want to bring your mind into it, or not so much your mind, like your heart, mind, your energetics, whatever, but you're wanting to shift it. You will, I mean, at this point, we are using our hands, we are using muscle, but not as much. I mean, the muscle that we have and the energetic we're bringing to it makes it possible to do what wasn't possible a minute ago with only muscle, right? I mean, there are people who teach ways to just sort of hold the spoon and eventually watch it flop over. I'm not there yet. I believe it. I know people who've done it. But I'm still in the, I got to hold on to it to make it happen. But when you try in the beginning and you feel how tense your muscles are and it's still not going where you want, and then I'm telling you jokes and whatever, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, by the way, by the way, I just bent this, but I don't really think it was any big deal. But, you do that a couple times and you will realize that it is a big deal, that something really happened there. And part of it, too, is that for me, this was sort of almost like a teaching practice, right? As I kept doing this, when you first sit down to bend the spoon, when I'm not talking to you nonstop, you're going to notice all the things that you say to yourself about the way the world is, or about what you're capable of, or, you know, what you can do in front of other people, or what you can't do in front of other people, or how other people can do. And you know, just like all our internal patter that a lot of people never really hear or know. I mean, I'm pretty aware of it, because when you start meditating and you start trying to get quiet, it gets really loud.
Yeah.
And it's not that it got loud, it's that you just got quiet enough to realize that stuff is going all the time.
Right.
You know, unless you're really practicing and working to, you know, stop it or shift your, you know, your focus or your attention. So it was like a teaching tool for me to become more aware of what I was saying to myself, and kind of hear that, and then not go into judgment about that, because that's just more of the same, but to recognize it. And again, to not even have to like rebut it and explain why I'm sure it's not true, or my therapist said it's not true, or Connie said it's not true, but to just like put it aside and say, well, what if for the moment it's not true? What if there's some other possibility that I don't know about, right? I don't have to undo whatever it is that's like in my way. I just have to kind of get it out of the way, or get me out of the way of it, and find a place where something else is possible. And then you see what's possible. And so bend a spoon, and I don't think that that's any different than our capacity to lower our blood pressure, or the people who are praying and sending love to the water, right? And it's intention and it's attention, and it creates a change. But a lot of those changes we can't track or measure. I mean, even like, you know, if you're low in your blood pressure, you know, I'm meditating, I'm imagining it, and my blood pressure lowers, it's really easy to say, I didn't do that, right? It was because there was music, you know, whatever. I mean, we talk ourselves out of what's possible all the time. And so while you can do that, and you just proved that for us with the spoon, still talk yourself out of that you did that, you know, you can practice a little more with that and get to where you know you did that. You know that it was your capacity, your state of being that changed this. I've used it times, and again, not in a judgmental way for myself, but I struggle with my moods. I've lived with depression most of my life, and mostly my moods have controlled my life, and I would like to be able to control my life in spite of my moods, if not also control my moods. You know, and there was a day a couple of months ago where I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed and just feeling really, you know, not good about myself, not good about the day ahead. And it could normally take a long time, if not the entire day, sometimes longer, you know, to really get out of that headspace. And so I was like, I just kind of said to myself, like, really? Like, you did this. You took the spoon and you did this, and you're telling me that you can't, like, shift the mood and get into a better headspace? You know, and again, not in a vindictive or judgmental, mean way, right? Because that's not going to do it. But to reflect back to myself what is possible, even when I think it's not possible, right? And that just by the thinking that it's possible can make things possible. So this must have been 20 minutes by now. All right.
Oh, wow.
How was that for you?
I was surprised because it bent when my cat was making noise, and I turned around to look at him, and all of a sudden I felt the spoon.
Right. And that's, I mean, how hard do we struggle, right? We struggle and we strive, and we have to apply ourselves to get what we want. And, you know, how many more years do you have to work until you feel like you're at the competence level that you need to be? And it's like, what if it's that easy? It's almost like you just look away from it, and all of a sudden,
that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And I'm not like Steve and like you, Michelle. I'm a slender, not muscular, never have been a very muscle person.
Right. So you did it, and you believe you did it.
I did it because I was listening to you, and I was just kind of feeling and fiddling with the spoon. That's all. I mean, it was really... I did it once before on watching you on a YouTube webinar. I did it with a spoon. But this one's even, I like this one because I was trying to do it a different way and make it into kind of a circle, and it's actually.
Yeah. there's, and there, thank you. There's so many like kind of inroads. There's also like, if everything is energy and energy has consciousness, then not only can we just think that we're going to dominate the spoon, right? But we're going to collaborate with the spoon. We can ask the spoon. We can say, hey, spoon, how do you feel? What do you think? Can we do something different here? Like, wouldn't that be fun? And go into that kind of playful space.
Yeah.
And be aware that there is, it's like in the Matrix, that little kid says there is no spoon, right? And there is no spoon. Like we're creating the fact that there is a spoon here. So we can create the fact that, the spoon and I are like buddies now, and we can actually collaborate and cooperate on some other different outcome. And then, no, that's not going to work. I thought I was going to be able to, bend the spoon and, twist it. That didn't work for me right now, but at another time it could. I just try different things, different ways, play with different sort of headspace. I was teaching somebody, and I was talking about how some other teachers like want people to like shout and like command the spoon to bend. And the guy was like, well, wouldn't you just ask it its permission? And so it's like whatever resonates for you, because that's what it's about. It's about your vibe and your resonating. And so, whatever your metaphor or your analogy or your, whether you're more visual or auditory, like whatever works, right? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you are willing to look into it and explore and be willing to realize that we don't know what everything is, and we don't know that how things show up are the only way they can show up.
Yeah.
And like in business where they say, like in a webinar, on a launch or something, like you can only expect, 10% of your prospects to sign up. Okay, I suppose somebody came up with that because over and over that seemed to be the average number. But that's somebody else's average. That's some other experience, right? But the more you say, well, oh yeah, that's how it works. And when I do a launch, I'm going to need to have 200 people in my funnel so that 20 of them this and 2 of them that. What if we believe something different? What if you went into it and it was like, what else is possible? Like what kind of vibe can I be putting out, or how can I connect with the people that so want what I'm offering? That my opt-in rate is 50% or 60%. Yeah. I mean, we keep proving what they say is true because we believe it's true. And if we can start believing or wondering if something else is true, then maybe we would stop proving what they said was true. Whoever they.
It makes sense.
How you doing, Leslie? How you're feeling about your spoon? And
so of course I'm chatterbrain. So you talking have been very helpful. Every once in a while it felt mushy to me. I don't know why, but I started thinking it felt like a bunny.
I love it. Okay.
But I felt like it was getting like mushy, but not enough for me to bend it.
Uh-huh.
And then I was catching my thoughts go, oh, wait, it's going to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But how awesome is that? Have you ever held a spoon and thought it was mushy?
No. And that's the thing. It felt like, wow, it feels mushy. And I don't know why I was thinking of a bunny, but that just tells you where my head's at.
I love it.
But anyway, yeah. So I can't wait to practice more. And everything that you're saying, I mean, is really resonating with me. And I never really thought that this would be such a tool to really look at.
Right.
So that's huge.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, when I paid for my spoon bending kit, I just thought it was going to be cool, and it has really turned into something else. And
so how would you see working with a business? Well, here we are. We're all business owners, right? So how would you see working with business owners to basically show them, that if you can bend a spoon, you can bend time, for instance, if you're overwhelmed. Or
time, you can bend your opt-in rate. I mean, like the things I was saying, right?
Yeah.
You can bend your opt-in rate. You can invite new possibilities into your daily life. I mean, sometimes when I'm like freaking out about where's the money going to come, and I start thinking, should I advertise this, or should I make a ring, or should I that? Any of those are possibilities, but they're still part of my smaller viewpoint, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so much higher knowledge of our own that we can tap into or that just connect with the universe. And so there were days where I said, like, okay, you know, it's like universe, like, I need some cash flow now, and show me how else it could come. You know, and then maybe some new client shows up, or maybe, you know,
Right.
a billboard that sparks some idea. Like, it could be anything. But when we're in stress and struggle, we don't see that. That's very contracted. And so part of it is just that general, like, to be in a headspace in your business and in your practice or your service where you're really open to things being easier or more abundant or whatever, not, you know, not as just an affirmation, right? But as really changing, like, your biology and changing the tone of voice when you talk to your prospect on the phone.
Right.
You know, if you're saying, like, oh my God, this is so hard, but I have to do it, and I'm going to do it, and, you know, I'm going to write a script and I'm going to read it, but I'm going to stumble, you know, like, you're doing all whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you say hello, just in hello, like, all of that is in hello.
Exactly.
You know, and if you think, like, I imagine that, you know, we're on the same wavelength, and whatever it is that I've got is something that's going to be of benefit to you, and I'm excited to share it with you. Not only is my wording going to change, but when I say hello, I'm going to be like, hello, you know, I mean, that was exaggerated, but, you know, the shift, I mean, just
people feel it.
step into it with.
Yeah.
Totally love doing this. And teaching people to do what's right for you, right? I mean, I don't want to teach people to do what I found is right for me, because I tend to just break rules and not have a system, because that's how it works for me a lot. But I want to teach people to, like, really honor, how does it work for you? How do you work best? Not how do they tell you you have to work.
Yeah.
You know, not how business has to work, not how a sales agreement has to work, whatever. But it's like, how does it work for you? Where does it feel in alignment for you? And then when you do that, things align to you rather than you trying to align to it. I actually have a group on Facebook called Spoonbender's Cafe, where I try to post some other things about just, you know, like, how amazing and magical life is. And also spoon bending things. And then my business page, I just named Spoonbender's Cafe Live, so that I could make it distinct from the other one. And I guess that's where I'm going to be doing Facebook Live spoon bendings and life bending stuff.